Back to it here. Welcome on back here this Thursday afternoon, June 22nd. Great to always have Grant with us here inside our live trading room. A few more of us just rejoining us here in the moment. Brian and David included. Leda, as always, loud and clear from her. From Jeff, great to see Jeff as well. And all of our students and members alike here, great to have you back. And great to have all of us back on social, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. A couple of housekeeping notes to begin, folks. We are finishing up, concluding the Phase 1 stock course lined up at 3:05 Eastern time today. Rich will look to repost the link for that just as soon as we finish up this meeting. So that's the first little thing. But secondly, Fausto ended up just presenting on NASDAQ. On NASDAQ's platform, they have their big monthly webinar series called Traders Talk, actually. Very similar to the weekly workshop I do. But nevertheless, Jill Malandrino, their host, she ended up interviewing Fausto. And actually, for all of us in social, what you could actually do, I'm going to paste the link for this for you just inside the chat stream here on social. So if you actually go to the link I posted right there, you'll see it right there in the chat or on the recording. But you could even go right to YouTube, or go right to Twitter, rather, I should say, pardon me. And it is right here. That's the link I just pasted. So you'll have the chance to see Fausto across a 10, 13 or so minute interview here with Jill Malandrino. So I know he's coming off of that right now, and just be on the lookout for that. We'll put that on our YouTube account as well, just over time as a separate video. Now, lastly, with that, I'm going to actually be posting a video in the coming hour or so. It should come out in HD version in the next hour. It's currently being processed right on our YouTube channel. Actually, a pretty unique video outside of our wheelhouse normally in regards to macro markets and actually using a little tech analysis. Be on the lookout for that. Go right to our YouTube channel and make sure that you are subscribed just so you get the alerts of when they go live. So, with that, markets are pushing on up. We came off the Phase 1 stock course class earlier today. Not a housekeeping note, but more of an update. Folks, what were we just calling the SPY chart here, looking at the 1 minute? I made this post earlier in the chat board. So for students like Leda, Lawrence, Grant, Andre, and Richard, what pattern does this look like? It just popped right now, of course, made a new HOD, the SPY, the S&P markets alike. What pattern does this look like, perhaps? Stock was holding resistance. It was showing higher lows, moving on up, moving on up. Any takers here? Really? Got to go back in Phase 1, folks. A beautiful looking Fausto flag. A perfect looking flag here, where this ended up building up off the lows throughout the course of the day. A little sloppy, of course, as it kind of shook a bit, but still retained its higher low from earlier. So from there, it ended up moving back on up. I was writing in the chat board just earlier that the SPY was making essentially a Fausto flag for a $435 asset here. Ended up breaking higher right now. Well, if we're expecting for this to make this illustrious run higher into the close, it better get to it. The fact it's pulling right back down to that level as we're talking and now under it, that legitimately is a red flag. That's really not good. Shoot, I wanted to see a really strong pop here off of this resistance. I reckon there's still a little time, but that doesn't look too good. And should this re-break under this sloppy trend line I ended up just putting up initially there, it held off the lows at first, little slingshot off of it after. If this re-breaks this support line here, the trend line, then all bets are definitely off. So this already doesn't look good looking at the SPY chart. I was hoping for a nice pop here at this point, but hey, we saw what happened actually earlier. What happens when a Fausto flag fails? So we tend to see a big reversal the other way. Now with that, hey, we'll try and find some good stocks on the way up. Even if the market does head fake us here and pull back, perhaps there could be some good trades moving up on their own accord, right? We did well earlier on a few of these. The AGLE actually to begin, we're not going to focus on this now, it died off. But actually from the morning session, a cheapy stock here, we normally don't tend to call out, but made a huge pop. Meds, the stock got halted a couple times. Not really my cup of tea, but nice little move at first. Dumped off though pretty sharply. Now Pixie, we actually did all right on at first. Ended up making a good slingshot within the first couple of minutes of the market opening up, but unfortunately, this really crapped out after. Failed to break the pre-market highs. Looking at the trend on the daily chart, hey, if it's not going to continue, then that's where you have to be careful, right? So the stock does have a tendency to make a pop and drop type of move historically, and lo and behold, that's what happens here today. Keep it going though. VSIG stock ended up making a big pop earlier. Speaking of chart patterns, we went over this briefly here just to show. Beautiful pennant. Higher lows, lower highs, ended up just breaking down over time there, that VSIG trade. Breaking down right now. There's a root stock right now, filling the gap, essentially. And we'll keep it moving here, folks. TALS, not much happening. Hey, we said it before, there could be a stock that could go off on its own accord, kind of against the grain, should the markets head fake us from here. Overstock looks strong, right? Really nice push up on OSTK today, up over 21% right now. The stock could be a pop and drop over time, but certainly looking at the trend right now, looks strong enough. So right away, we'll put this on our watch list. Overstock here. I got the messy stock, messy. Ended up seeing this make a good push a couple days ago, or back from the end of last week it could have been. But stock ended up making a nice squeeze in the morning here. And hey, right now I actually took my eyes off this. So catching back with this right now for the first time since, pretty good move. So perhaps this could be a really strong push into the close, just more so for the sake of saying this stock doesn't have much historical data to work with, right? So I do like this trade a lot. MGOL spreads are starting to open up a slight bit. It was pretty liquid like the end of last week or so when we were trading it off the pop even here too. So it's still pretty good, but the more expensive it runs or the faster it pops, it's going to open up that much more. And keep it going. So 2 good stocks to begin. I like it, at least so far. My scanner's constantly refreshing me. That's why you're seeing me scroll down so often. SOUN, not much happening now at this point. Good AI run from earlier on this trade, one of the AI stocks. What is it? Advil, AVDL. I'm kidding with that. I don't know the company name. Adavil Pharma, close enough. Well, stock's up pretty nicely here today, just pretty thinly traded. That's the issue on the stock. So I'll write this down for the side list. We'll nickname it Advil. My dyslexia, ADVL, AVDL. How about that? All right, so let's hop over to the loser side here, seeing if there's anything looking good. Perhaps if the markets had faked, then we could see a stronger push on the way down. If there's a stock already very weak, ALVR, shortable, technically, the stock is dropping off quite nicely heading into the afternoon. Well, now bouncing back up briefly, but ended up starting off consolidating on the way up a bit and then broke down. So it's been moving lower since. So nice trend. It is liquid, not a bad spread, not bad volume on the book really at all. I'll tag it on there. Right now it's starting to squeeze back up a small amount, but let's see a resistance hold, and for this to drop off a little bit lower, this could be a pretty good short into the close should that happen. AAOI took a huge hit today. That's right. I forgot about that. That was a great short in hindsight. We didn't really call this one out as much in the morning, and that's all right. We're going to catch a bunch of things, but not really catch them all. There's going to be 1 or 2 that slip under the cracks, and this was a great short. There's definitely a lot more down more than 5%. Just looking at the bottom of the loser side, it's at like 7.5. So, folks, if there is anything looking really good just on the way up or on the way down, let me know. Right now, the SPY chart thankfully moved back up. So, hey, I'm rooting for that breakout to happen. It did sling back up. Now or never, I'd say. Not to sound so dramatic, but this was a pretty strong built-in resistance across the afternoon. If this was going to be a really strong bullish run into the close, sooner is better than later. So nice to have the sling back up, and let's keep going. All right, so folks, let me know what you got here for me. Anything up, down, left, right, more than 5%, let me know. We only got 3 stocks on our list. Not a shutout, but definitely being efficient so far. LTCH, there's the SOUN, there's the messy. Yeah, not a whole lot moving out there. It was really quiet inside our trading room heading into this meeting. So, we don't want to force anything out there, but we'll see if there's anything that, we could look at from our side list perhaps right now. So Mara ended up making a drop off earlier today. Just, it's so flat right now, guys. I mean, if it ends up making a better pop, like if you follow Bitcoin, if you're watching Bitcoin chart, and you see a strong pop in Bitcoin, like an actual pop, you know what I'm talking about, then Mara's going to go with it. That's the key. But markets are at the highs. SPY's at the high of the day moving up. This is crawling right now. It had a good bounce earlier. Maybe check in with it at like 315. Ape, Nah, no going ape there, Jeff. It's too flat right now. It's dropping off still. Perhaps wishful thinking. I'm rooting you on or anyone else in any trade, but Boyle, Fausto was calling this out as a swing trade, not as much a day trade. If you listen to the morning meeting here today, Fausto distinctly was calling this out as a potential swing trade. So I'll put it on our watch list with that in mind because it's at the highs, right? It's at the highs, Sam. It's not up that like 5% that we look for, but hopefully it could run into the close more on the swing basis. But as a day, it's really slow here. So, I'll say the same there. It could be wishful thinking for this to really pick up in volatility, but again, we'll put it on our list as a swing. All right, so Manuel says only CVNA for him today. Well, it's a more volatile stock and a flatter market across the early afternoon. It's not a bad one to think about, I should say. It's a sideless play right now. It's crawling back up for what it's worth. So I know Manuel in particular did very well on this trade. I'm sure that he's going to have more of a focus on it for the close, rightfully so. That's what I always say. There's a sideless stock, like even Carvana's moving better than AI, that's for sure. But, I'd say the same on AI. If you do well on AI day to day, you killed it this week on AI for whatever reason, I'm sure you're more inclined to follow it here for the close. Square flat. AMD's at the lows. That could be a good sideless play as a short off lower highs. And let me check back with the Advil trade to wrap up here, folks. AVDL, nonetheless. This isn't really making a great move. It's up a little bit, but I think we're going to call it here, folks. So with that in mind, great timing, Rich, with that post inside our live trading room. Folks, if you are finishing up with me in the Phase 1 stock course, make sure that you click the link just right there on the chat board so you can get access to it. I'll be in there probably in the next 10 or so minutes. Going to take a small intermission, relax, get myself prepped up and good to go. But I look forward to seeing all of us there. Again, folks, just once again, a little housekeeping, just a bunch of different videos will be posted on our YouTube channel in the coming 24 hours. One of them, I think, is just finishing up right now being processed. We have Fausto's interview with NASDAQ and Jill Malandrino, which will post coming up very shortly here this evening. So make sure that you folks are subscribed right to our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingyou. From Richard, with that in mind, how about that? Checking in on Facebook, actually, from Richard B. CLVSQ. So we traded CLVS before they got delisted, we'll say. Yeah, they got OTC'd, right? We don't really trade OTCs as much. We used to trade CLVS in particular when they were listed on Amex or NASDAQ exchange, but right now, we're going to pass on any OTCs. That's all right, though. Hey, to each their own on that, right? We just don't really tend to trade them. If you're interested in learning more about what we tend to call out and trade on a day-to-day basis, this goes across the board. Just make sure that you folks go right down to the link on the green banner below, just on the bottom of the stream there. Get you signed up on a week-long trial inside our live trading room to experience more. But for all of us there right now, hey, best of luck trading going into the market close. And for all of us joining me in class, I look forward to chatting with you soon. Take care.